Hey, welcome back to the shop. I'm Jason, and today we've got a 2015 X5 6-cylinder with an N55 motor that we're going to be doing an oil service on. We've got our oil service kit from FCP Euro, which included a set of microfilters and an intake filter. Plus, while we're in there, I'm going to pull a spark plug just because we're at about 80,000 miles, double check that it looks good or doesn't, and then we'll move on from there. Why don't we jump into it? To get started, you're going to want your oil nice and warm. You know, that way you can burn the crap out of yourself down underneath. Pop your oil cap off. Because this car doesn't have a dipstick, we can't pull the dipstick. And I'm going to pull the oil filter up to break the suction on the housing. That way it will drain down into the motor. Now would be a good time to get your car up on jack stands, or if you're old like I am, you've got the car up in the air, you'll have good access to your drain plug, which is right down underneath here. And if you so desire, you could pull your front cover off, all these 8mm screws, and double check that you don't have any leaks. Take a look at your belts from underneath. I like to get a good visual under the car, see what's going on, make sure everything looks okay. Now would be a good time for safety glasses, because if you do this right, you warmed up your oil so that it wants to come out, and it's gonna splash. I don't have one of those fancy oil drain containers for using a lift, so I get to hold a bucket up to catch some of it. I know, feel bad. We're using a lift. Try to aim the bucket away from your face. Might seem weird, but I like to clean my splash panel. That way, if anything does leak, well, then I have a better chance of realizing where it came from. Well, this is why we look around under here. It looks like there's a leak coming off of the base of the oil pan right there. I'm gonna pull this reinforcement plate off. That way I can look around a little bit better. Well, not enough that it started dripping on the pan yet. That's good. So here's what we're looking at. We've got two distinct locations here. The axle shaft comes through the oil pan through this flange. There seems to be a bit of trail up above, all the way around, but nothing forward of that point. And then on this back corner of the pan, there's a bit of a trail, which would lead me to think maybe one of these aluminum bolts has an issue. I'm gonna have to start doing a little research. Now, you wouldn't be a good BMW owner if you didn't clean the wheels while you had the opportunity, right? A little bit of car wash soap, elbow grease. It helps to keep these guys clean longer. Okay, now that we're back topside, there are two O-rings. There's one O-ring right here, one O-ring right here. You see these come in our oil filter kit that you want to make sure to pop off with the cap. Use a pick, get in there, try not to poke yourself, pop it right over the top. Slide your new one on. Same thing with your larger one here. There's really only one location that it can go. You can see it can't go here because there's stops, and these are the threads. There's nowhere for it to fit. So it's only going to fit in that one spot. A little extra oil in the cap. Pop our new filter in. We're using our, let's see, AST filter housing tool. We'll pop this in. This engine takes 6.9 quarts, so we'll put number 6 in and go almost to the end of 7. Then we'll check it with the reader, move on to our next steps. With our oil change done, Next step, we'll need to start the engine, bring it up to operating temperature. But before we get it all hot, let's go ahead and get our intake filter out. You're gonna need a T25, and these are captive screws, so they shouldn't fall out, but I always recommend being careful with them because you don't want to go hunting down in the engine bay for them. This screw back here, or this hose clamp, you want to loosen that one or this one over here as you're loosening the air box to give the box somewhere to pivot from. Go ahead and pull our cover off here. There we go. Ooh, look at all that dust coming out. That doesn't look too bad, I suppose. Living in the desert. Now that we have the box open and the filter out, you see there's a bit of dust in there. So one step that I like is I grab a vacuum and I pull all that stuff out. No sense putting a fresh filter in there and letting it start it up with a bunch of extra dirt in there that it didn't need. Now we can just slide our new filter in. Make sure that it sits inside of the lip all the way around. Should be a tight fit. Let me show you on this other side here. You see how it's sitting up above. We want to get that to fit right down in there, like that. Which will help to create a nice seal all the way across. Then we can put her back down, tighten our screws. And up here we have a little nipple there that has to line up with an indent on our hose. Make sure everything's still in place. Now our cabin air filters are hiding up under here. Got to pull this tab top, lift this guy up and out. That, pull this tab back here. This will slide over. Down here, you pull on that up, and then you have to wiggle this guy until you find the right combination of Tetris and willpower, and it'll come out. Usually easier with 2 hands. There it is. And then you have your 2 microfilters, little clips. Pull those down. These guys pop out. And we'll pop our new ones in. Looks like we had charcoal filters in there previously, and we're going in with regular ones this time. We'll see if we notice any real difference. Other than dust, the air here is pretty clean. And then it goes back in, lines up with these 2 tabs back here, down in the bottom. And then snap. Now our cover can go back on. There should have been a little push pin down in this corner here. It's not there, but it's also not all that necessary. Go. That snaps on the top, bottom, and then right there. Now, let's blow the dust off of spark plug number 1 area here and pull a plug out and see what those look like. To pull the coils out, you pull this cover up like that. That releases your connector. Then you give them just a little bit of pressure up, and they should pop out and be clean on the bottom like that. You can look for any arcing or damage to see if they're failing. Look down in the plug hole to see if there's oil or leaks of any sorts. Everything looks clean here. Let's get a socket, pop this guy out. To remove these spark plugs, I'm using a low profile snap-on 12-sided spark plug socket. They shouldn't have that much torque on them. Should be about 18 Newton meters. Okay, this is what we're looking for. You can see the plug is firing on this side. Doesn't look fouled, black, or carbon deposited, but it does look like I'm probably pretty close to time for plugs. I guess I'll add that to my list of parts with the oil pan fix. All right, and to put this back together, I did put a little dab of anti-seize on there. Third time's the charm. Pop it back out. Our coil back in there. Before we put our cover back on, we're going to lube the little mounting points, actually just the front mounting points, so that it's easier to get on and off next time. It's not fighting us so hard. To lube these, I just put a little bit of silicone lube here and here so that they'll slide down onto their retainers easier that way. Just like that. All right, now we need to warm the car up and double check that our oil level is good, and we'll be all set for the day. All right, so to check your oil, you're gonna need to go into your vehicle status screen here, scroll down to measure engine oil, and then once the engine is warm, you hit start measurement, and it will bring the idle up slightly for a few seconds and give you your oil reading. And you can see mine showed right up in the max reading. So now we just need to shut her down and clear our oil change measure. To clear our oil change indicator, we're going to turn the key on. We'll go ahead and use our BC button here to clear our message down in the corner. Then we're going to use our mileage button. We're going to push and hold. You'll see the mileage will go away and then come back. And then we'll push and hold again. We'll wait for it. There it is. Now we're going to push and hold for the reset. It says question mark, yes. Okay, we'll push again. And now we're resetting. We just wait. All right, next oil change a year from now. Will be sooner. And we can check our other services to see where those are. We're all good. The last part of any good service is to clean the engine bay, because why not? So I've just got some car wash soap here and a pressurized sprayer. I'll just lather this guy down. We'll rinse it out, be all done. Why not work on a clean engine bay each time we have to go in here? And because we're not using any high pressure or anything like that, I'm not all that worried that we're gonna inject water into something that shouldn't be in. This is an engine bay, it gets wet. We'll just use some deionized water so we're spot free and rinse this out. And to aid in the dry time, a little blower action. This is how it should look when you're done under here. No reason to roll around with a dirty engine bay. Some poor fella's gonna have to work on it. Feller, somebody. I hope you got something useful out of this video. It's time for me to get on to the test drive and make sure that this car is ready to get back on the road. If you got something useful out of it, let me know down in the comments what that was. Was it how to reset the mileage indicator? Was it checking the spark plug? I don't know. Was it anything? Anyhow, like, subscribe, comment, do your thing. It really helps the channel. Watch one of my other videos up here in one of these two corners. You know they'll pop up. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.